it's Sean from BlueUp, and today I'm just going to be taking you through how you can use Cin7's WMS app to manage your goods out process and basically scan out goods from the warehouse. To do this, on the right side here, I've got my phone screen, and that's just going to have the different apps that you can see there. And on the left side here, I've got Cin7 itself, so I can walk you through, how it goes in and out of different systems. So, excuse the ads, I am on the App Store just to show you that you can find the Cin7 apps, i.e. the WMS app, the POS app, and the MES app, which are in turn for the warehouse management system, the point of sale, and the manufacturing execution system, I believe. But essentially these three apps, the top one is for managing the warehouse, the middle one is for the managing cash registers and tills, sorry. And then the third one here is for managing production. So today we're just going to be focusing on this top one, which is specifically for warehouse management. This can be found like I've done here on the App Store, on any semi-modern Android or Apple device. Cin7 themselves have got documentation stating, you need to be above this version of Apple or Android, but the more recent the device, the better it's going to run, in my opinion. So I'd go, if you are going to get scanners, for something moderately, new. I am also just using a phone here, but scanners typically are just phones with an add-on, which is for scanning, and it's just going to paste things into your phone based on what you've scanned with the actual scanning hardware. So yeah, my demonstration isn't perfect here, but the only difference is that you can actually physically scan versus there is a built-in camera scanner. Now that I've kind of explained that, before I get too deep into showing you what it's capable of, there are a couple of settings that you'll need to probably manage before you get into using the WMS app. One is I would have the locations and bins set up accurately, so all of these scanning functions are going to require you to say a bin or a location where you're scanning out of. So it is important that if you are using bins in your Cin7 account, that you're going to be they're all accurately in there and they're scannable, so that people don't have to enter them for every single order. And another important factor is that if you have too many locations, you have to be logged into a single location at a time, so you're going to work out of a warehouse, so to speak. So you can get quite hectic quite fast if you have multiple locations. So just jumping into what I was mentioning there around the settings. So if we go into integrations in any Cin7 account, there is an option on here for WMS, as you can see there. And in here, there's just some configurables that you can set up essentially for the WMS. Now that being said, some of these options I believe are only available in premium accounts nowadays. So for example, the one that I'm going to show in a second, use picking for kitting, and I think also time tracking, are only accessible from premium apps. I think in terms of the time tracking as well, I will cover that in a separate video just because it is quite elaborate in what it can do. But yeah, I'll get into that in a second. And if you've noticed there, my screen share has paused for now, but that should be fine. So just going through here then, it says always scan bin numbers. That's just going to kind of make it so that people have to be scanning things in and out of the right location. Allow manual quantity entry. So this is whether you want to allow staff to basically type, I've scanned, there are 10 of these items I've counted, or they have to scan each of the 10 items. I would allow this because without this, time-wise, it's going to be super inefficient to use the app, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. We then have expense accounts and in transit accounts if the people are raising write-offs or transfers on the app, which they can do, or even stock takes. That can all be done on the app, and that will go to the accounts you set up here. We can then select sales order picking to be scheduled or all orders to come through. Now the main difference this makes is you can either choose to release orders to the app to be picked, or you can have all orders that are authorized to go straight to the app to be picked as soon as they're authorized. In essence, scheduled gives you a lot more control over what's going to the app, but you have to make sure nothing is missed. All will capture everything on the app, but then you have to kind of put an SOP in place to make sure people aren't doing or picking orders they shouldn't be, so on and so forth. So yeah, they're the two different kind of factors we'll work with. I'll select scheduled for now, just so that I can show you what it looks like if you use the scheduled pick. And you can set a number of orders per pick so that pickers can go around and do multiple orders at once if they want to here. If you're used to working in a warehouse, you know that sometimes people will go around, they'll pick 5 or 6 different orders, and then they'll be packed individually. The app does allow for that, although most people typically don't use it for that. Falling in line with that as well, we've got the use of tote numbers here. So let's say I go and pick 5 or 6 goods. Before that gets packed by someone else, it has to sit in a kind of location, as to speak. And the way we can do that in Cin7 is we use a tote number, which is like your basket number. So I've picked orders 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've put it in basket 1, and it's just sitting there for now. So I'll turn that on to show you that as well. We can then skip the packing stage if we want to, and we can also skip the shipping stage if we want to, or not even process the shipping via the app. Now, if you are using an integrated shipping app, such as ShipTheory or ShipStation, I would recommend having these manual. If you aren't using those, I would probably set the packing stage to automatic, and I would do no shipment for the shipping stage. So you don't have to worry about putting in parcel dimensions and stuff like that, because it's not going anywhere, is basically what this will do. Because otherwise you'll be requested to put those dimensions in. And then the no shipment option, because you'll be booking those goods out probably on a PC when it does come or leave the warehouse, so it's probably just going to be easier for you. That being said, that'll be different for every business, so there is no one answer there, and you can be flexible with these. For now though, I will show you both just to give you an idea of what that looks like. There is also an option here to print package details. So if you are shipping and you need a label because you're not using any kind of shipping app or anything that generates a label for you, you can technically do that through Cin7, although I probably wouldn't recommend it. Just because the details on there will probably be somewhat limited compared to what you'll get from other places. Like I said, there is an option here for time tracking, so you can see how long it's taken to pick an order and pack an order and get into that kind of stuff. But I'll probably cover that in a different video, just because it's a whole kind of different area. That being said, just like the options below, that is going to be for the advanced WMS only, so you would have to upgrade to be able to use that, and I believe for both of these as well. I've left use kit picking for kitting off just for now, just so that I can show you what it looks like before I turn it on, and I'll turn it on and show you what that looks like as well. I think that's everything covered here, so now I'll actually jump into it, and I'll reset up my screen share here. So just getting into it then. Oh, that's just disappeared for a second. Let me just drag that back across. There we go. So getting into it here then, so we're going to open up the WMS app. That's going to pull up the app like so. And from here, we'll have all of our different, well, first you'll need to log in. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit there. We brought to the following screen once we download the app, and you'll just need to use your Cin7 core login to get past this. There is a biometric login, so once you've done this once, you can be logged back into the same account, or I like to use my Microsoft account just because I have it available anyway, so it's nice and quick just to click it, and that'll log me in automatically. From here, we can select our organization that we want to work from. So most people will only have one of these, but just for if you are one of the rare people who has multiple accounts, you can select your account that you're going to work from here. So I'm going to do it from this one here. I do not want to enable biometric, although I'm just going to say yes for now. From here, we do need to select a location. So this is where having multiple locations can kind of hinder the WMS, and it is one of the shortcomings here. So a lot of people use these sub or different locations to kind of ring fence stock and manage their stock in a certain way. If you're using the WMS app, that can make things difficult, because in order to pick goods that are in one location when your order is set to another location, you would need to transfer the goods, because you can't be working at 2 locations at once. So if a sale order's in one and goods are in another, you're kind of stuck at that point. Now that does go along with the ring fencing idea, but it can be clunky, and I've had issues with clients in the past around it. So just want to keep in mind, if you have lots of locations that you guys are using, it can be difficult to manage through the WMS app. So we're going to select main warehouse here for me. I'm going to click next, and this is what basically any warehouse staff will log into on a daily basis. That'll be in their location, and they'll see all their options here. The top 2 options we have here are for the picking and the packing and the shipping. So pack includes packing and shipping, and then pick is for obviously the picking. We then have things like receiving and other stuff, but we'll probably do separate videos for all of them just to make it nice and accessible. So for now, we'll just jump into the picking and the packing. So if I go into my pick here, we can search. No orders currently found. And that's why we have Cin7 up in front of us. So the next step is going to be going to a simple sale and setting up something to be picked and shipped. So I'm just going to select a random customer here. Make sure our location is set to main warehouse where we're working from. We're going to skip the quote here. And we're going to add in 2 items that I've set up specifically for this. So one is AAI, which is the auto-assembled item, because I want to show you how that kitting works or bundling works with this. And we'll also do I think it's called batch item. This one here, so I can show you how batch numbers and serial numbers work and such. So I've got both of those in there now. I'm just going to put in a random price here, and then we can authorize this. Now, going back to our WMS application configuration that we have here, if we did not have the option on for scheduling, which it looks here we don't, this will now appear immediately on the WMS app. So if I go to my phone and I search, I'm not sure if we did save this after changing it. I think we did, so that's why it's not appearing. This would now be appearing on the app if we had that setting set to what it looks like it's set to there. So if it was set to all, that would now be appearing on the app. I believe just to prove this, if I refresh my page, it's set to scheduled there, which is why that's not currently appearing. But now it's set to scheduled. If I go into my sales now, to get this onto the app, I need to release it for picking essentially. And the way you can do that is you go into your fulfillment screen, select the orders you want to release, as order number was 176 in this case, which will be this order here. And then on the right side, you'll have a new option appear, which is called picking. We can click this and we can now schedule this for picking. Upon doing so, that's now classed as being scheduled for picking. And if I go on my phone again and I search, we can now see that appears. So that's now available on there. So it's a seamless link. There is no kind of long wait times, loading times, upload times. As soon as you press authorize on the order, it will either go to the app, or as soon as you press schedule, it will go to the app, depending on your configuration. But now that that's done, the next step is going to be processing it. So we'll leave Cin7 for now and we'll move over to the phone. From here, so we've selected our order number. That does look a bit bright, so sorry for that. But yeah, we'll click start. So because we have set on our WMS app our number of orders per pick to be 5, it is enforcing that. So I'm just going to set that back to 1. So that allows us to do this. So if I try again, I may have to refresh the page. I may need to actually now log out just to refresh those settings. Obviously, if you set this up, you're setting up to work in a certain way. I'm trying to cover all bases here, and so I'm tweaking a lot of settings, which is not really expected as you go. So we'll go back to here, back to main warehouse, next, pick, search, stop. Okay, so it's working now. We're clicking into our order, and we get our pick list put in front of us here, so it's a digital pick list. So right now what we can see is we have a batch item to pick and a auto-assembled item to pick. In the top right here, there's an expand option, which is quite useful. And once again, I believe this is only available for premium accounts, but I'm not entirely sure. And what expanding is going to do is it's going to break out that one item into the components it is requiring. So this is possible because auto-assemble order is turned on. And because of that, what that means is this isn't like a manufactured item or a true built item, and that means you can basically, it gets built for you when you do a sales order. So if you are working with any kind of bundles or easily assembled items, that's when that auto assembly comes in helpful. And that means that when you are using the picking app like this, you can then click that expand button and expand that out so you can see the components like so. So that then becomes your choice whether you want to pick that top level item of the auto assembled item if you've got some already pre-built in stock, or you can expand and pick each of the individual components, which is what we'll have to do because we don't have any in stock. So I'll click into the batch item first just to show you what that looks like. So all we need to do is put in a bin number and a batch to receive this in. Now for anything on the WMS, the expected usage here is you scan these just to make sure there's no errors, your life as easy as possible, etc, etc. And you can see, even if you don't have a scanner, in the top right there is the option to scan anyway. I'm just going to hide my camera so you can't see anything, but yeah, this is the scanning function. You can use a camera to scan a barcode. It's a little bit clunky, but it does work, although actual scanners are always recommended over that. We then have the option for the bin here, and the bin option basically just lets us scan the bin that it's going to go into. You don't have to do that, I don't believe, but you have the option to do so. And then we have the batch here, and that's the batch we're actually going to be picking. So we want to scan the right batch that's leaving the warehouse. I think mine's just called 1. So I'm going to scan 1 and say done. And that has now been picked and is leaving or ready to leave the warehouse. The next stage then is going back to our auto assembled item. We now need to pick this. Since I don't have any already in stock, I'm going to expand that out. And we now have the option to pick the individual components instead and bundle them together ourselves. So I'm going to go through. I believe all of my batches are just called 1 here. In fact, it's already showing us what we've done here. So we've picked batch 1 from bin 1A. So I'm just going to say here that I've picked that. So you can do that by scanning or entering the item number at the top there as shown, or you can do it from typing like I've just done. Either way works. It depends on what your warehouse setup is and what works best for you. Now that being said, if that item is classed as being in bin 1A, like we can see there, if we don't scan bin 1A or don't put in bin 1A, it isn't going to work when we try to scan it. So it is worth keeping that in mind. That's going to cause you issues. Like I say, if you are using bins, they need to be used very, very accurately if you are using the WMS app. So we'll finish that. We'll do the same for the other components here. Click finish, and that is now all of our goods now picked for this order. So we've got all of our components picked for our finished item, and then we've also got our batch item picked there. So we can click finish now. That's that now done. And that's that now left. I'm going to take a wild guess and say I didn't save the tote number option. Yeah, okay, so at that point it would have requested we give the basket number or the tote number. I forgot to turn that back on, so it hasn't asked us for that, but it's just going to ask you to provide a tote number. We can now go to the packing stage because we finished our pick. We can search for our order. Our order is now going to be in the packing stage because we've picked it. It's going to be here. You can see, if I just go back quickly, you can search for a tote number here. So if you are using those baskets, like I said, I haven't actually seen anyone use them previously, but if you are, you can search that there as well. So we're going to click into that order. We've got our items that we need to pack here. So we'll start with the top one. It's just going to be a repeat of what we've already done for the most part. So we're going to say that we have got one of these items. It's going to be in package 1, 2, 3, or 4. We're going to click save, and we're going to do the same for the next item. Batch 1 is going to be in item or package 1. So the main reason for this stage is so that you can basically put in package information, and the benefit of that is you can use it to provide to your shipping providers. Now, Cin7 probably isn't the best place to store that. Well, getting or generating the information in Cin7 could be quite good, but passing it on to your suppliers is either done via an app or outside of the system. So typically there isn't much of a need for this packing stage, to be honest, unless you are linked to something like ShipFairy. But we'll save that now. So we've said that both of our items are, well, one item is in package 1, one item is in package 2. So now because we've got the shipment stage enabled as well, we can process shipment. It's worth saying if you did have a shipping app, this stage wouldn't be here. It would just now go to the shipping app And once they have booked in a delivery for you, that's when the shipping stage would be updated with their tracking number and URL and such. Since I'm doing it manually, I'm going to select a carrier that this is going to go out on. In fact, no, sorry, this is where it would actually go to the shipping provider. We've got a package here, so it's a package dimensions, like I said before. Since this, technically I am connected to a shipping app, so I'll be passing this to it. So I'm going to say 1 centimeter, 1 centimeter, 1 centimeter, and the weight here. So if you are using, once again, a shipping app, sorry, I keep referring to that if you guys aren't using it, but if you are using one, it's going to basically use this for your calculations of your formulas in that app. So if you want to go with DPD for any parcels over 70 kilo, it's going to take this information and it's going to then use that to route to the best carrier for you. So I'm going to save my package details there. All of that information will be saved for the first package and the carrier for the first package. And then I'll just have to do the next package and make sure all the information is in for that one too. If you have information already in Cin7, that can help speed up this process. And then we've got our print label option there. And I believe this is going to be generated by ShipFury because we have that connected. So it's going to pull from ShipFury and do one of their labels instead. Yeah, you can see there ShipFury was unable to book with UPS Legacy as the carrier has been deleted because it's a test account, which is understandable. But that's when your ShipFury would take over and it would manage the rest of it from there for you and pass in your shipping details and such. If you aren't using ShipFury or a shipping app, this is pretty much the end of it. You can print a Cin7 label and you're now done with the process. If we go back into Cin7 and look at our sale now, it's not going to be completed just because, like I say, ShipFury broke for me there. But if you wasn't using that or it worked, then you would have the shipping stage completed as well via ShipFury's API and or Cin7 just completing the orders. But if we now go into our packing stage here, we can see our shipping instructions or our package details, what the information we've put in. And also for those of you who are tracking your warehouse staff who are doing this, we can go to our logs and attributes and we can see who on the WMS has actually managed this. So if there is anything that's gone wrong, you can trace that back to the user there. I think that's everything in terms of covering this. If you have any questions around it, please feel free to leave them in the comments or ask, or even get in touch with us at BlueHub and we can help you with that. But that is all from me for now. I hope you found this helpful.